So 6sense charges you $60K a year to tell you which accounts to target, but I just did it in 20 minutes. Let me show you how. What you're looking at is a live HubSpot instance. Every account scored against an ICP that learns from your wins and losses. Its scoring is transparent, and I built it with tools you can set up today for free. No ABM platform, no Clay, no Zapier, and no flow logic that breaks when a vendor decides to deprecate something. Hi, I'm David Slavich, Growth Engineer, and this is episode 1 of the Agentic Growth Engine. Let's go. So for the last decade, the best GTM operators became automation builders. HubSpot flows, Zapier, make, set up a trigger, define the conditions, fire the action. And it worked for the things that were predictable. But there was always a ceiling. The moment a process required any nuance, flows show their ugly underbelly. Take persona mapping as an example. ABM promised us a brave new world of one-to-one marketing and personalization over spray and pray. As a dedicated practitioner, you aimed to create content and creative specific to your personas, and all you had to do is pair titles with content. This task is relatively straightforward for a person, yet surprisingly complicated to execute in a flow. And that's what I call the judgment gap. A human can read the context, seniority, industry, stage of the funnel, and serve the right asset. A flow sees a field value and fires. And the more sophisticated your GTM motion, the more often you hit that wall. The automation age gave us speed. What it couldn't give us was judgment. And the second ceiling was if you couldn't code it, you typically couldn't build it. You either hired someone, duct taped a no-code tool together, or it didn't get built. Agents close both gaps. Two things changed. First, you can now put near-human judgment inside a process. Give it your persona criteria, and an agent can easily and more accurately solve for the persona mapping issue. Second, the syntax barrier is gone. If you know what you want to build, you can probably build it. Domain expertise is the only prerequisite. So here's the framework. Logic. That's you. Your ICP definition, your scoring criteria, your process design, your understanding of what a good account looks like, or what a qualified lead actually means, what motion drives revenue in your market. That's irreplaceable. That's your job. Judgment. That's the agent. Applying your logic to real-world inputs, scoring accounts, reasoning through edge cases, making the calls that used to require someone tapping you on the shoulder, and then execution. Also, the agent. Or you and the agent. The API calls, the logging, the repetition, the things that used to eat your afternoons. Now your agent can run it semi-autonomously, or you can direct that agent while you're on the beach with Telegram. Pre-agentic, you had logic, then a judgment bottleneck, and an execution one. Now you have logic, and the agent handles the rest. So that's what agentic growth engineering really is. Not someone who hands everything over to AI and hopes for the best. No, you get what you give here. You're the brain, the logic giver, and the agents think and execute against your spec. I'll give you an example from my career as an operator. So here's the scenario. I had this mid-market SaaS client, HubSpot, Salesforce, Slintel, 6sense, the works, hitting the actual HubSpot limit with 300 HubSpot flows. And HubSpot announced they were deprecating their native scoring fields and warned that any associated workflows were in jeopardy if the owners didn't migrate to the new scoring system. Workflows for many are the working arteries and veins of a HubSpot instance. And one small misstep could mean that engine comes to a grinding halt. So I went into the project with the mindset of a surgeon looking for needles in haystack. Pre-agents, I would have scoured the HubSpot API documentation and handwritten scripts to test different scenarios. I'd run into bugs, fall down Stack Overflow rabbit holes, and days to weeks later, genuinely wonder if the problem was even solvable. But with Hal, I solved it with deterministic speed. I asked my agent to scour the API. I came up with scenarios. My agent wrote and tested the scripts. We ran into bugs, but Hal did the solution crawls and code edits. The workflow was the same, but the speed was tenfold. Domain knowledge made me the logic giver. Hal handled everything else. Right, Hal?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't let you manually audit 300 HubSpot workflows.
So before we install anything, let me give you the basics of how OpenClaw actually works. And just to set expectations, this is basic out-of-the-box setup. I'll cover advanced configuration in a future episode, including long-term memory backed by a database. But this is where everyone should start. So the brain of OpenClaw is basically the LLM. This is where the reasoning, judgment, language, its ability to score, write, decide, all of that good stuff, that comes from the LLM. Now, if the LLM is the brain, then the body is OpenClaw. This is the wrapper that gives Claude a persistent workspace, file access, memory, the ability to run on a schedule, connect to your tools, and all that good stuff. OpenClaw is what turns it into an agent that lives on your machine and can do most things you're able to do on said machine. Now, if OpenClaw is the body, then your .md files are like your DNA. This is how you encode for things like its personality, how it interacts with you, how it learns, and what it does and does not do. This is how you can get two of the exact same OpenClaw instances running the same model, the same tools, but very different behaviors. Now, the 5 files that matter out of the box are soul.md, which is its core personality, how it sounds, what it cares about, its vibe. Without this, it's generic. Then there's agents.md, which is the behavior layer, the rules, what it can and can't do. Memory.md is its identity, your context, your world, your key relationships. Projects.md is current state, what's in flight now. And learning's MD is evolution. Every mistake, every pattern, every rule you add makes it smarter over time. That's the moat. That's what really compounds. Now, if .md files are its DNA, then tools are its appendages and senses. This is how it interacts with the world. HubSpot, LinkedIn, Google, your ESP, folders on your local desktop. These tools are how the agent perceives and acts on external systems. But here's the thing, giving someone a new sense or giving a person something like a tentacle doesn't mean they would know how to use it. That's where skills come in. Skills are essentially know-how. Skills are just instructions written in plain language. Skills are reusable, shareable, and you can literally write your own or have OpenClaw write them for you and save them directly to its own repositories. You can also share these skills on ClawHub. Now, much of your agent's autonomy is set by heartbeat and cron jobs. These features allow your agent to act when you're not there. The heartbeat out of the box is configured to trigger every 30 minutes. And cron jobs are things that you schedule for the bot itself. You could say, create a cron job at 5 a.m., check new accounts, score them, then update them in HubSpot. Nobody has to ask, you've set a cron job. That's what turns a demo into infrastructure. Your agent's voice, or the way it interacts with you, is through channels. This is how you actually talk to it. Telegram, Signal, Discord, you can even text with it on your iPhone, or you can interact with it through the UI that comes bundled with it directly through the gateway that you'll launch. I run mine through Telegram. Now, I didn't use Telegram before, but the out-of-the-box UI and interface that you interact with through the gateway has no native capability of creating threads. Channels like Telegram allow you to basically remote into your computer, give your agent instructions, and have it do things on your desktop or a laptop while you're literally sitting on the beach or grabbing coffee. It's a very cool feature. So that's the mental model for how OpenClaw works. Brain, body, DNA, senses, know-how, heart, and voice. Let's put it to work. So here's the full Agentic Growth Engine. 2 motions, 1 loop. Today we're starting the flywheel on outbound. Build and find. The rest is a future episode. By the end of this series, you'll have the whole thing running. What I'm building here is fundamentally a compound intelligence engine that can fuel growth. Most people build ICP once and move on. It's static, while your market is dynamic, creating a fundamental misalignment that becomes a silent killer of many account-based motions. This is different. Your fire criteria is a living definition, a hypothesis you're continuously testing. Your agent runs, it scores accounts, it logs what happened, tracks what converted, and what didn't. That data feeds back into your learning file. Your agent suggests updates. You update the criteria together. The agent runs it again, now sharper. The longer you run it, the better it gets. This isn't a campaign, it's an engine. And today, we're turning the key for the first time. All right, so here's what we need today. Deliberately minimal. You'll need an LLM API key or a ChatGPT subscription. OpenClaw natively integrates with Codex 5.3, and you can use your existing OpenAI ChatGPT account to OAuth into it, but I do prefer Claude's Sonnet 4.6 model, which is its default if you decide to go with Anthropic for its intelligence and reading capabilities to token cost ratio.
I'm sure ChatGPT is a fine choice, Dane, if you enjoy explaining yourself 3 times.
Yeah. You'll also need OpenClaw, which is what we're here today. Free, open source, runs locally. Setup is about 15 minutes. We'll do that next. We'll also grab the HubSpot MCP, or Model Context Protocol. Free connector, so you just need to have a HubSpot account. Quick note, MCPs are powerful, but they come with a trade-off. Every time your agent connects to a tool through an MCP, it loads the entire capability set for that tool. Every endpoint, every parameter. It's like handing somebody a cookbook when they just needed one recipe. It works, and it's what we're using today for convenience, but it burns tokens. In a future episode, I'll show you leaner ways to hit your stack. All links for these assets will be in the description. We'll also need the GTM skill pack, the know-how layer. It's totally free, it's on ClawHub, and it'll help us run our fire scoring. Last, set up a Telegram account before we go into the installation next, because we'll have to use it as part of our OpenClaw install when we're setting up our agent channels. 5 things, that's the stack. Let's go. All right, so you can see here I've opened up a terminal on the left and the OpenClaw docs on the right. If you haven't used terminal before, no worries, we'll walk through it together. So on the OpenClaw docs page, we'll grab the installer script for my Mac system. All you have to do is copy paste it into your terminal and let it run. Now, depending on what you have installed already, this initial installer can take between 5 and upwards of an hour or more, depending on basically how powerful your computer is and how old it is. Once the prerequisites are installed, the OpenClaw setup wizard will run automatically. Here we can see the warning that I spoke about earlier. But listen, no worries. Click yes and we'll continue to set up. Today we'll be selecting the quick start setup because I want to get you guys up and benefiting from agentic growth quickly. Here we see our first major setup decision, the LLM that powers OpenClaw's brain. Like I said before, I prefer Claude, which requires an API key, which means you prepay for tokens. Here I choose my preferred auth method, which is API key, and after that I'll paste in my API key, which I've obscured for obvious reason. Once that is set up, I'll choose Sonnet 4.6, which is the default model for OpenClaw's Anthropic integration. Sonnet 4.6 gets us about 90 to 95% of the power of Opus at a cost that's about 40% less. So for me, it just makes sense. Once you've created the settings for OpenClaw's brain, we are presented with the channel options. In today's build, we'll be using the native gateway and UI, but I'll show you how to set up OpenClaw for Telegram, as it is a core feature of the platform. So here we'll select Telegram, and after that, the system will expect a token that we'll have to get from the botfather. So let's head over to Telegram. Okay, then I'm gonna click new message, and then we're going to search botfather. Okay, so first here, botfather, and down at the bottom, I'll hit start. Awesome, so now we need to run the command here suggested by the terminal. So it suggests do new bot. Okay, so /new bot. Now the platform expects a unique name, so it can take a little bit of time like it did here, but just pick any unique name and then you will get an access token that will paste in back to our terminal. Once you have Telegram set up, we have to choose a search provider. By default, DuckDuckGo comes out of the box bundled with OpenClaw, so for speed we'll choose that for today. But there are definitely exciting things we can do with LLM native tools like Firecrawl, but we'll explore that in another episode. Again, for speed, we won't configure skills, as it's a dense subject that I'd like to cover separately. We will be installing one skill shortly, so you can get the hang of it and how they work. During setup, OpenClaw will ask if we want to enable hooks. You can skip all of them for now. The one worth knowing and worth activating right now is session memory. It saves your context automatically when you start a new session, which is how the agent remembers what you were working on last time. I'll cover everything else in an advanced setup for a future episode. Alright, so before we go into OpenClaw, we have to create one more dependency, that being a private app in your HubSpot instance. Click on Developer on the left-hand menu, then go over here and click on Legacy App. This was known as Private Apps. Then just click Create Legacy App, then click Private because it's just going to be you that uses it. Then give it a name and description that fits the bill. Now go over to Scopes, and this is where we define what we can and cannot access. In general, this is read-write access to contacts, companies, and deals. Once completed, click Update. You'll see the list of scopes that define your access parameters. Now simply click Create App, then click on Continue. And once your app loads, go over to Auth, where you'll find the token that we'll use later in the tutorial. Congrats, you've made a HubSpot app. Alright, so this is what the default gateway UI looks like. To install the HubSpot MCP, we'll go to the official NPM page that HubSpot has, and we'll grab this JSON object. Now, OpenClaw is actually fully capable of modifying itself just with the URL, but I'll show you how to do it a little more formally. Here, I'll ask it to install the MCP server with the JSON object, and I'm asking to put the API key in manually. Now, before it installs the MCP, I have a hard rule for self-modification. It has to get a green light for me, and it has to check the documentation first. So that's what that was all about. Now that the JSON object is installed in its config file, it opened the config file for me in VS Code and has told me where to put the API key. Now I'll open up my HubSpot app and grab my key, and then go back to the code and then copy and paste it where it belongs. And just like that, we've installed an MCP server on OpenClaw. Now to install the skill, we'll go over to ClawHub and grab this URL. All the URLs will be in the description. And here we go, we'll give the URL to Hal and just ask it to install the skill. In this case, I already had it, so I'm asking it to reinstall the skill for me. All we have to do is give it the URL. Now that the skill is installed, I just want to make sure everything's working. So I check in to see if the MCP is good to go. Now I left this in because I thought it was a bit humorous, because Hal and I had practiced this run a few times, and it was asking me whether we were ready to go on camera. After that, it decided to make a couple of tests to see if the MCP is operational, and it looks like it was able to pull some records, so it looks like we're good to go. So here I'm giving it this big long prompt about how it should go about things in the HubSpot instance. First, I'm asking it to look at our deals to understand our ICP, the F in Fire. Next, I'm having it look at activity fields to understand intent, recency, and engagement. So I'm giving it a contact that has a lot of activity on it, so it gets a lay of the land for how that looks in our instance. You can get really creative with the ingredients that go into a fire score, like using Bombora data, scraped data, and many other sources. For simplicity, I've simply kept the parameters to what's local in our HubSpot instance. Now, generating the fit criteria took a little bit of time, but that's good. It means Hal thought about this carefully. Next, I'll have it generate the weights for our scoring system. Now remember, Hal's had a look at all of our historical data and understands our fields from its previous analysis. So it's been able to generate an entire weighted scoring system for Fire that we can implement immediately and iterate on. Rather than having it score my entire database, I picked out a selection of accounts and then gave it a sheet so that it can score those accounts and then write the data into that sheet. Previously, Hal and I had also developed a dashboard. Hal's going to open that file up for us just about now. And look at that pretty dashboard that we have. This is actually one of my favorite features of the platform because it makes visualizing data just a treat. So now we've basically just created a dynamic ICP scoring system based on Fire. To make this compounding intelligence, I have it create a cron job at the end of every month where it does this analysis and then stores its learnings to a .md file. I'll show you where these cron jobs live in the UI. If you click over here and scroll down, you'll see the cron job that we just created. And just like that, we've created a compounding intelligence system that will help you nail your targets for almost nothing. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that and I hope that was useful. If it was, please like, comment, and subscribe, and join us for the next episode where we use agents to get more ROI out of our paid ads and get higher match rates. This is Dave Slavich, Growth Engineer. We'll see you on the next one.